Hello everybody, it's Vertical Sandwich. Welcome back to Let's Speedrun SteamWorld Dig. So in our last video we got to Old World and we almost died before going into this cave, so then we had to go heal. That's the entire story. Alright, secret area. You have to love those areas that are secret, because they're secret areas. You actually don't have to love them. You can find secret areas obnoxious and unnecessary. That is your right as a citizen of Video Game Topia. Here we go, the hardest jump in the game. There we go, we got it. Although having mentioned Video Game Topia, I am reminded that two animated movies have made use of the Topia kind of idea. Both Ants with Insectopia, which was, you know, I mean, we all know what it was. And then that other thing. You know that other thing? Zootopia. Which was okay. I don't have any problems with Zootopia. It was alright. Actually, I take that back. Zootopia was really good. Zootopia was way better than Ants. I'm a little ashamed that I compared them. Ants was meh, but Zootopia was, it had great characters. Really cool characters. Actually found the main character to be the least interesting character in the fox character is fantastic. Just great character development. All right, we got Steam Punch. I love that the game continually gives you the objective, continue exploring. Like, at some point, you're just gonna be like, oh, I got Steam Punch, like, game over. I wonder why this plays, like, why I can still dig down. Like, nope, no reason for me to check that lead out. That was actually a pretty good throw on his part. He really had me between a rock and a hard place there. Or he really put me between the devil and the deep blue sea, which is a far better way to kind of express the idea of having two bad choices. Although it wasn't a while back where somebody was talking about something and they said it's a real Sophie's choice, and I was like, it's a choice about which one of your children gets murdered by the Nazis, and they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, that's Sophie's choice. Right? Like, that's what that's a reference to. And I mean, I guess spoiler alert, I should have said if I thought you were gonna go watch Sophie's Choice, but yeah, Sophie's Choice is that it's like there's all the stuff that goes on, and then it's revealed that she had the Nazis made her choose which one of her children dies and which one lives. And so, like, Sophie's Choice is not, I mean, like, Sophie's Choice is a thing that you wouldn't. I mean, like, people use it. It's become in context this thing where it's just like, oh, that's a hard choice. But Sophie's Choice is an excruciatingly impossible choice. Right? It's not a hard choice. It's not like figuring out which car to buy is a real Sophie's Choice. Like, I think an analogous choice would be like, and this is super dark stuff, right? Like, this is a fun game about robots mining ore, and I'm talking about Nazis killing children. But the an analogous choice would be the choice to how to medically care with someone who is unresponsive. Because, you know, you don't want, like, your choices are essentially, like, to, you know, your choices are to believe that you're putting them out of their misery, or by killing them, by authorizing their death, or potentially not do that, and maybe be forcing them to live a life that is, you know, that lacks all dignity. That is a comparable choice. I don't know. It's kind of fun. That kind of information is fun. I was looking up the some conversation the other day got me to look up the origin of Blacklist to see if it was inherently, like, you know, inherently tied to race. And aside from it being tied to the connotation of things that are black being, you know, evil and dishonorable, which is, you know, but it's not tied to modern American ideas of racism. The term dates to the 1600s. It was originally used as almost as a synonym for infamy. But I like that kind of stuff. Like, you know, people will say things like Catch-22, but like Catch-22 is a novel, and Catch-22 is, there's an actual thing in the novel that is the Catch-22. And that is the rule that people can be discharged from active service in the military if they're insane, and request the discharge. But if you request the discharge, that's clearly evidence that you're sane, because you have an instinct for self-preservation, and like only a sane person would want out. So if you were insane, you would never apply to be removed. Therefore, you never would be. So sane people can't get out, but neither can people who qualify by being, yeah, it's like, that's the Catch-22 in the book Catch-22. Which, by the way, you should read the book Catch-22, because it's amazing. Like, Catch-22 is a fantastic novel. It's one of those very rare instances of a novel that is socially important and humanly important and poignant. It says a lot of things about who we are as human beings and as people. And it says a lot of very important things, and is still hilarious. Like, it's still, the stuff that's going on in there is just, it's just super funny. And then suddenly it's not. So here are fall dampeners. We've gotten all the abilities out of Old World at this point, I believe. Yeah, because it's, you get dynamite, and then you get what? And then you get steam punch, and then you get fall dampeners. Right. Fall dampeners super important because we dug a lot of vertical shafts that traverse huge areas. So yeah, Catch 22 is fantastic, and it's for a long time that was the kind of thing that I went for in books. Like before I started this kind of modern, you know, this award winning, like this whole science fiction thing that I've been doing for a long time now. Before that, it was really about entertaining, poignant literature, as opposed to just, you know, important literature, because, you know, Ulysses is a very important novel, but it's not funny. Or like The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby is like it's a super important novel, and very accessible, and completely worth a read, and one of my favorite books ever written. But it's not the kind of thing that, you know, it's most often read by people who are forced to in English classes and literature classes, right? It's not read by a lot of people who just wanted to take it on vacation. But I mean, real genius can sometimes create both, in my opinion. That you can have, like, a real page-turner science fiction book that is also, like, very poignant. Because the best in literature, the best in any medium, really makes you think about, you know, who we are and why. Kind of asks you questions, even unanswerable ones, and makes you think more about things that you wouldn't normally think about. And that's one of the things I really love about Vonnegut. Is Vonnegut, at his best, he succeeds at that, and at his worst, he still tries. I think Catch 22 was written by Joseph Heller. Is that right? Yeah, I don't know. There's something that, another thing that's really great about Catch 22 and some of Vonnegut's stuff that I really liked, and another thing that I think can be very important in literature is sometimes people who are writing books, it really feels like they're showing off an education or a vocabulary list, right? So somebody wants to make me look up words, which is fine. I don't mind looking up words. It's a thing I do. If I don't know what a word means, I look it up. But, you don't need to do that to get a very, you know, an incredibly complicated message across. And I would argue that that's the case with The Great Gatsby, and it's the case with Catch 22. Breakfast of Champions, I think, does a really good job that way. And that's the thing, is like, what, you know, reading all the Hugo Award winners and stuff, you could hit those kind of things where you're like, yeah, this sounds very modern, and it sounds like the kind of things that, you know, if I were like, this seems like the kind of book that somebody would have really talked up like it was the next great thing when I was in college. And not that there's anything wrong with being in college. Or liking, you know, literature that seems modern or whatever, but there's something very satisfying about the ability to to take the simple basic building blocks of our everyday language and create something create something that is, you know, an actual work of genius. And I'm not, you know, like I said, I'm saying the other thing isn't. I'm not saying the other thing isn't important too, because I mean, man, people have argued that Ulysses is the best book written in the 20th century in English. And try reading it once. It's written in English, but you'd never know it from reading it. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's written in a way. I mean, the stream of consciousness in that novel is mind-bending. Or Naked Lunch. Naked Lunch is like that. The stream of consciousness in Naked Lunch is just so wingnutty. And, like, it's not the kind of thing where you would ever just be like, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm not telling you not to read Ulysses. I'm not telling you not to read Naked Lunch. Like, I've read both books, and they're what they are. And I don't even want to sound like I'm deriding them, because I really liked Naked Lunch. And I really liked Ulysses, but the thing about that was, yeah, they're kind of so layered and kind of so fragmented in points that, you know, you kind of question whether or not you get it. I once told an old English teacher of mine that I had read Ulysses, and he asked me how much of it I understood, and I said about 40%, I thought. Probably an underestimate. But it definitely wasn't 100. And there are study guides and stuff for that. The one for Ulysses is called the Bloomsday Book. And I actually should. It's the book of notes for the novel, and I think it's longer than the actual novel. And I should go back and I should use it as a companion and go through the book again. But I mean, that's the thing, is you like read Ulysses and there's an entire, like, the main character is walking down a path and he gets to a fork at the path, and then there's this entire visit with relatives, and then you realize that didn't happen at all. That he was just thinking. He was thinking what would happen if he went down that path, and then he goes down the other path, and it never happens. And you just go like, but the thing about it is, Joyce didn't make distinctions that way. Like, he didn't say like, well, this is, he didn't, there's like, he wasn't like, oh, just put things that don't happen in italics. If he did that, like, that book would be way more readable, but he doesn't. So you just go like, wait, did the character think that? Or, you know, there isn't, it doesn't make the book doesn't make an effort to show you what's dialogue and what's not. So you don't know if somebody actually is speaking out loud. It's crazy. But beautiful. I mean, the fact that somebody can craft Ulysses out of the English language is a thing all by itself. Like, definitely all by itself. Because, like I said, it's in English, and you start reading it, and you're like, I can't follow a word of this. Like, it takes practice and work, but it's in the language I spoke in my entire life. Like, it's almost impossible to explain. So, yeah. That's my honest thing about that. I don't know, I was talking about literature. We're watching me go through Vectron, but we've seen all this before. We're just doing this as quickly as possible. And if you noticed, at our last video break, we were 54 minutes in. And we're in Vectron. Like, that was the point which we... So when we got into Vectron with an hour and a half left to beat the game. And we haven't really, like I said, we haven't developed any kind of... We haven't been using techniques that are somehow, you know, mind-blowing or required a lot of practice. We just dug fast. We just dug fast and didn't spend a lot of time. Like, we just made sure we hit every... You know, we got as much ore as we could while hitting every cave. That's your strategy for this game. Get as much ore as you can, explore every little cave. When you're in Vectron, kill these laser things. They're horrible. They're actually not so horrible for them shooting you. What they're horrible for is obliterating everything in your direction. So, shooting the stuff you're standing on while hurting you. So that you then fall and don't have the platforms you were standing on. And you took damage. I hate, that's the second time. I think twice I knocked that guy down there. And, it's kind of a pain. It is. But, we're gonna pick up the mineral detector here, and then we're gonna stop this video, and when we come back, more digging in this world of Steam, in speedrun fashion. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing, and I'll hope to see you for that. Bye, everybody.